Hi everyone. Now this is the fly I'm going to be tying. This is basically well, if you look under there, it's a pheasant tail. In this case, it's a dry fly, a parachute pattern. Now I was asked if I could, a couple of questions in this fly. Now, could you tie a pheasant tail dry fly? Well, obviously I'm going to be doing that, and I'm going to be tying it in the parachute style, as you can see. Now the other question I got asked was, can you tie parachutes with just normal Chinese or even Indian necks? And the answer is, well, there's one here. You can do it, and that's just how we used to tie them. And I mean, before we could get the genetics like for tying parachutes, the saddle hackles are actually the long black one here. But basically, a saddle hackle just goes on and on and on, and you can get God knows how many flies out of one hackle, whereas when you're using these domestic hens and so on, you only get one fly. But that's fine, because that's the way we always tied, and I like still tying with these. So, and you can tie a parachute fly, so I'm going to be tying this one. Now the hook, this is I'll just get one out. This is a size 14 barbless hook, and this one's from Fulling Mill. Now, put it onto the device so you can actually see it. There we are. This is a size 14, this one. It's the ultimate dry. Always get a wee ping. If you get a nice ring or a ping, it means it's holding right. And sometimes if you can get an odd one, it's soft. If it doesn't ring, and the chances are it's not tempered right. But most are fine now. So, but anyway, there we are. So that's the ultimate dry, as I say, size 14. For tying the fly, I'm going to be using a thread that suits the colour, which is a rusty brown, which is a very pheasant tail type colour. And we take a length off, just basically to run the wax through and put it back on the spool. Give me the plenty of grip. Now what I want to do is start at the eye, come down about halfway, remove the waist, and bring the thread halfway back up. And that will give you a position for the wing. Now the wing is this multi-yarn, it's like just an Antron, it's a white Antron. You could use Parapost, you could use Polypro, you can use whatever you like really. So I'm going to be using that. Now I have a strand on my desk. Now all I'm going to do is fold it round the shank by bringing it underneath. You want a good length either side, you want at least a good inch, and then just underneath, bring it round in the area where you want to tie it in, which is there. Do a turn in front, come behind with a turn, and at the same time as you come behind, come round with a posting turn, and end up with another turn at the back. And you'll see that's just a quick on. It's solid, it sits there, it takes very little, there's practically no bulk in that, very easy. Now we're going to be tying some dubbing and tying more thread turns on the way back up. So, but that's just to centre it. Now I'm going to cut the yarn to the right length where I can actually hold it when I'm winding and tying the fly. Now for the tail, I'm using the same cape. That's the cape there. Now if you got the side of the cape, here there's some nice feathers, these feathers here. They're short, they've got a nice long fibre. If you're ever using these Indian or Chinese necks, you'll find these feathers in the sides, and they're ideal for tails. So take away the fluff, just bring out enough fibres to form the tail. Depends on how thick the fibre are, these are quite fine, so I'm going to, a good half dozen or so. So bring them 90 degrees for the stem, so the tips line up, tear them off. Tail length for this size of fly, at least the hook length. Now before we can tie it in, we're going to take the thread down, so to the back of the hook, which is there. So we do a turn, holding the tail, just holding the tail fibres on top. Now that turns onto the bare hook, so then what I do is bring the thread turn underneath the fibres and pull towards the eye and away from me, and then do a turn on top. And that basically opens the fibres out, locks them in and lifts them. It's just a quick way of doing it, it's just an old way. trim the waist, the length of the body, which is there. To protect the body, I'm going to be using an extra small, in this case copper wire. Just catch that on the side. A couple of turns just to hold it. Get our pheasant tail fibre. This is a cockbird. You could use a hen bird, it's actually quite a good colour. 4 or so fibres is plenty because you want it quite fine. Again, just tear it off so the tips line up. Hold the base of the thicker part of the fibre, finger and thumb, and come round with a single turn and then pull them in. You want to pull it in as close to the tips of these fibres as you can get. And then we want to work our thread up, tying them in. There we are. Now we want a mill or so. Stop it, a good mill at this side of the wing, the back of the wing, because we're going to put some dubbing in there. And then when you wind up our pheasant tail, now wind it towards yourself. Because, well, I'm winding towards myself because the way I wind my thread is away and as well as the rib. And what happens is when you do that, the rib will hold in, catch in more of the pheasant tail, protect it, because that is the weakest fibre. Just be patient with this wing here, it's starting to catch a wee bit. Just roll it together. And then we get to this point here, tie it off, we do a turn over the top of the pheasant tail, turn on the hook, which locks it in. Do the same again, because what's going to hold this is the wire. The wire's going to do the job, that's going to protect it. Do a single turn at the back, and then you're looking around about 5 or so turns up the body, just ribbing the body. Catch it in, you want a few turns in just to secure it, and then bend and break away the wire, but keep the thread tight when you do that, because if you wiggle the wire you can loosen the thread, so always keep the thread tight. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie in the hackle, so I'm going to take the thread to the front of the wing. Now I have some hackles lying here, so this is one of the hackles off that neck. There's a wee bit of fluff down the base here, so I'm just going to take most of it away, just leave a wee bit of darkness there, I quite like that. And then what I'm going to do is basically going to catch it in. I don't know if you can see that, but see that you want some of the bare stem to be coming up into the wing, the yarn. So basically we catch this in with 2 or 3 turns in front. So we lift it so it's up into the wing, and then we want to post. Now I'm just checking here, it's actually a wee bit too long, so I'm just going to pull it to the right length. It's just a wee bit too far there. So I'm going to post both the hackle and the wing together. So you want to work your way up and then come back down about a good mil or so, nice and tight, and then you want to end up with your thread at the back here. Some dubbing. In this case, this is some hare's mask that I've blended. Just cut away the fur off the mask and then blended it. So just a wee, I'm bringing some on my desk. So it's quite a coarse dubbing. I like the kind of guard hair, that's why I like using the mask. Well, before we do that, take away the waist of the stem. Slightly dub this on. Say the guard hair will spring out the back, and a wee turn at the front here. It's basically tidies it up, you can see there. So then what we want to do is form our parachute hackle. Now the reason we take our post, the hackle and the wing, it obviously takes it up. When you wind your parachute hackle, you do a turn, the next one should be underneath, working your way down that post. So basically get your hackle pliers. Now we've only got this, as I say, this is just an Indian or Chinese neck type feather. It's small. You want to do a turn. You want to use up the whole hackle. Next turn under that. Just hold the wing as you come round, and you keep working. I'm just going to use up the full hackle, and then once I'm happy, bring the hackle pliers straight down. Lift the hackle fibres out the way. There's this point of the hackle. Then we tie it in. Make sure it's secure, not going to move. can then trim away the waste. Just checking, there's 1 or 2 fibres here I want to trim out. Go back to our dubbing. Just lightly dub it on. The thread, it's much the same amount as we have at the back. It's just to tidy things up. Slide it up. Again, just lift the hackle fibres out the way, just up against the hackle, and then wind through, stroke back, anything going forward until she turns the thread in front. Just leave things as it is at the moment, put some varnish on the thread, and then about finish. Yeah. Make sure it's tight. I just put my nail on the side of the eye and pull so it's nice and tight. Now that locks in, that varnish sets really well. Trim this wee fibre out. Yeah. Now I'm going to press the hackle back down. There we go, see what it looks like. That's fine. Now to trim the hackle, trim the wing, we just basically bring the wing down to the back of the hook, just pull it in line with the body. I'm just going to open it out a wee bit first, it's twisted, because I obviously encourage that. So we pull it down to the back. As you come down, put your scissors in, and then cut it in line with the back of the hook, a straight cut. So we come straight up, straight cut. And that should give you a slight taper in the, you can see, and there we are, that's your wing. And there we are, that should do it. Just. And that's the pheasant tail. There's a parachute, there's a couple of tying ideas in there obviously. And as I say, you can use like an ending or a cock hackle, neck to tie a parachute fly, and it will float fine. This will give you a great impression on the water, it sits nice, and there we are. Simple fly, great pattern, work throughout the season, tied in different sizes, give impression. The pheasant tail nymph gives impression of many species of flies, that's why it's so popular, why it catches so many fish, and it will do the same as a dry fly. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Again, thank you for watching, until next time.